there is the impetus that for that quantized version, there must be an element. It can't be capricious. It can't be a lottery. It's got to be generated by what I think is at the source of everything, is consciousness. And therefore it has to be generated as an act of free will. For that quantized bit to come to the material.
So where does the soul come in then? In a free
so
will
what we're saying is that
where does the soul come in?
Free will.
Where does divine guidance come in?
That when we talk about consciousness, if consciousness can be quantized like that, then there must be an element of free will quantized with it. Mm-hmm. Because otherwise, you're punishing part, or It can't.
Well, what I'm interested in is we have this again. I keep going on about this, but we've had this conversation before. You see, we talked about free will, right? What I still feel, free will is great and it's there, I accept. But I still feel that there is an element behind, if you like, the free will. There's an element above the free will, which is soul guidance, divine guidance, whatever
guidance,
it is.
And you mentioned two words earlier, kind of
and that's what I'm interested to
overseeing
know,
and
how
allowance,
they interrelate.
Which is interesting because the Bhagavad Gita also uses the same words. Upadrashta Anumanta, which basically, Upadrashta means overseer, and Anumanta means permitter, or facilitator. Really, is what it's. That it's not making a judgment.
Yeah.
But it's providing the circumstances for free will. Mm-hmm. It's not interfering with it. It's not curtailing
which is what I said
It's
earlier.
not judging. Yeah. It's basically overseeing and permitting. Those are words that are trying to kind of encapsulate that, which is an interesting kind of concept. But just because there might be a kind of process or source behind the individual's free will, and that source may be helping to manifest, or the circumstances of our free will, doesn't change the fact that our free will exists. It's actually interesting about free will because you could actually say soul can predict what we are going to do. And may know what we're going to do. Does that take away from free will? Mm-hmm. No. Sometimes people have this kind of idea that if I know what you're going to do, that means I've somehow or other removed your free will. No, it doesn't.
Let me give you an example. We talked about this briefly this morning. Let me give you an example of where I think free will, that we do not have complete free will. Okay?
No one's saying we have complete free, and certainly not in the material world, because so much, this little bit that we brought with us has now become so overwhelmed with the ego covering and the manifestation of this new personality that we're now adopted, that it's completely conditioned what we do. And actually what we might think as free will in the material world for the human being is pretty paltry stuff, frankly.
Okay.
I think we're agreeing on that.
No. That's my take as well, because I've always struggled a bit with free will, because again, you know me, I try to see the bigger picture. But let me ask you something. Let me get your take on this, right? Supposing hypothetically there's a benevolent force, right? Call it what you like, right? There's a benevolent force out there. Again, words, irrelevant. But there's this benevolent force. Supposing this benevolent force is keeping a sort of watchful eye over planet Earth, right? And supposing every time planet Earth or someone or some people on planet Earth get close, and it's happened, I think, a couple of times at least, to blowing the planet to smithereens. I'm exaggerating just to make the point, right? So let's say nuclear war, something like that. Suppose this benevolent force, right, have some power which we may not know about that actually either neutralizes or prevents this, either through some, mind energy technique, or through, it doesn't really matter what the technique is, or some energy influence in some way. How does that correlate and interrelate with our free will? Because surely, if we have free will to blow up the planet, right?
I actually think we have. I personally don't think we can do it.
You don't think we can do it?
No, actually. We can make a mess of this planet. We can certainly make a mess. We can do enough.
Didn't we do it in the days of Atlantis and Lemuria?
We didn't blow up. The planet's still here. It's still going. And obviously...
Well, we did a pretty good job of destroying civilizations. But,
no, we have, yes. But actually that proves my point. That civilization can come and go, and what was the interference?
Right.
And,
okay, so let's narrow it down from blowing up the planet then. That's my exaggeration.
I personally think that... I don't think our free will of screwing up the planet would be curtailed, but others, I think there are others besides human beings.
Yes.
And in the Vedic kind of context, these are devas. Sometimes devas are reflected as little kind of almost woodland spirits.
Okay.
But there's lots of different categories of devas.
There's quite a few around here, aren't there?
Yeah. And there's big heavy devas who have got kind of big universal responsibilities, not just looking after a few trees or, but actually looking after various parts of the universe. And they might be looking and thinking, oh God, what are those humans on Earth up to again,
And do they intervene? Can they intervene?
Yeah, because they've got their own free will. You have to see them as just another type of soul in the system.
Okay, so free will operates at the highest level, but doesn't operate at the individual level.
No, it operates at all levels. Just because they've got free will doesn't stop you having free will. Like, for instance, if you're going to drink that's your free will to want that. I can go bang, knock it out of the way. You can't drink it now. I have not changed your free will. I've stopped you doing something, but that's not the same as stopping your free will. You see?
I think we're talking semantics.
Will is never changed. You have the will to do something. It doesn't mean you have the power to do it. Just because you've got the will doesn't mean you've got the power and opportunity. I've also got will. And in the material world, what happens is that the will and the opportunity become separated.
Okay.
And actually, we fight over the actual actions and the opportunities. We're both exerting will. In the spiritual realm, the two wills work together in a cooperation.
What I'm hearing then is you're referring to will in terms of intention.
That's right. That's what free will's about. It's a consciousness. It's not an action. It's not ability.
Well, I think I'm learning something here, because maybe I've associated free will with, if you like, free choice.
Most people think free will means omnipotence. Almost. A lot of people, assume that if I have free will, then
choice.
I've got ability to do everything.
Yeah.
But free will just means I've got the intention to go in my own direction. And ultimately, you know what free will boils down to? Love or envy. That's your choice. You can love, you can envy.
Why envy?
Envy is the opposite of love.